Kevin? Kevin?
Maya, what a surprise. Assuming you're here to see Kevin.
You're never going to see him again.
Wait, what?
I never would have gave Brittney a Dr. Foster. It wouldn't have happened.
I'm not breaking the news to her. You break the news to her. They found her in an intersection playing in traffic, and she's lucky to be alive. Do you understand? You're not fit to be a foster.
Hey, look, I'm sorry if you're having a bad day, but you really can't be rude to me like that,
You can't tell my dad what I'm about to tell you, okay?
Okay. Well, as long as no one's, dead.
It's actually about sex. I just hate doing it. It's alright. Thank you.
Honey, you defiled my son.
Hey, look, you're preaching to the choir. I never would have gave Brittney a Dr. Foster. It wouldn't have happened.
No, I was highly against it from the beginning, but she kept begging Linda, and she finally gave in. Certainly never would have given her a lab puppy. Are you crazy? Look, I don't know. I'm not breaking the news to her. You break the news to her. Oh my God, all I want to do is take a nap, and she's here. I gotta go. Yes, Brittney. What do you want?
Trixie, where is she?
You don't have to worry about that. They did find Trixie, and she's fine. That's what you need to know.
Scene 2 unfolds within the ostensibly ordinary setting of an animal rescue. Yet it quickly reveals itself as a quietly charged study of responsibility, care, and the complicated emotional terrain that can arise when women relate to one another within systems of authority and expectation, using the lost dog not merely as a plot device, but as a symbolic catalyst that exposes deeper currents of longing, disappointment, and recognition between Brittney and Julia. On the surface, the scene is structured as a reprimand. Brittney, earnest but careless, has failed in her role as a foster volunteer, and Julia, her supervisor, must intervene to protect the animal and the integrity of the rescue. This framework mirrors a familiar social script in which women are expected to be both nurturing and competent, and where failure is often met not only with correction but with moral scrutiny. Brittney's repeated mistakes with the dog mark her as someone whose desire to help outpaces her readiness, a dynamic that resonates with many women who have been taught that wanting to care is equivalent to being prepared to do so, even when structural support is lacking. Julia's response, firm yet layered with concern, situates her as an authority figure who embodies the institutional voice of responsibility. But the scene's emotional power emerges from how that authority is complicated by tenderness, recognition, and an undercurrent of unspoken connection. Rather than framing their interaction as punitive in a sensational sense, the film treats discipline itself as an emotionally charged exchange, one in which guidance, disappointment, and care become inseparable. Through a queer lens, this interaction reflects a familiar pattern in lesbian and queer women's lives, where admiration, mentorship, and emotional intensity often serve as socially acceptable vessels for deeper feelings that cannot yet be named. Brittney's defensiveness and vulnerability, particularly her insistence that she loves animals and wants to help, mirrors the way queer women frequently feel compelled to justify their desires by framing them as altruistic or selfless. While Julia's measured responses echo the learned caution of someone who understands the risks of blurred boundaries in a world that polices women's closeness. The rescue environment itself functions as a metaphor for queer relationality, emphasizing care, chosen responsibility, and the ethics of attachment, all of which are central to many women's experiences of loving other women. Dogs in the scene are not merely animals, but symbols of devotion and trust, and Brittney's failure to keep Trixie safe becomes a parallel for her own fear of being unworthy of care or connection. Julia's explanation that certain responsibilities require structure, time, and readiness speaks not only to animal welfare, but to emotional readiness as well, suggesting that love, whether for a dog or another person, demands more than intention alone. For lesbian viewers, this resonates with the often delayed or cautious approach to intimacy shaped by social surveillance and the need to remain respectable, particularly in professional or hierarchical contexts. The scene's dialogue avoids melodrama, instead allowing pauses, gentle corrections, and restrained affirmations to carry emotional weight, reflecting how queer women often communicate through subtext rather than overt declaration. When Julia shifts from reprimand to reassurance, acknowledging Brittney's intelligence and beauty, the moment is framed not as seduction but as recognition, a subtle affirmation that blurs the line between professional encouragement and personal regard. This ambiguity is crucial, as it reflects the lived reality of many queer women who experience moments of connection that are profound yet constrained by context, power dynamics, and the fear of misinterpretation. Importantly, the film does not present this dynamic as uncomplicated or purely aspirational. Instead, it invites viewers to sit with the discomfort of authority intersecting with intimacy, prompting critical reflection on how power imbalances can shape emotional exchanges even when intentions are caring. For women broadly, regardless of sexual orientation, the scene captures the exhaustion of emotional labor and the longing to be seen beyond one's mistakes, a feeling that transcends specific identities. Brittney's quiet devastation at being deemed unfit mirrors the way women are often harshly judged for errors in caregiving roles, while Julia's attempt to balance accountability with compassion reflects the impossible standards placed on women in leadership to be both firm and endlessly understanding. The film subtly critiques a culture that equates worth with flawless caretaking, suggesting instead that growth emerges through honest confrontation paired with empathy. In resisting sensationalization, the narrative challenges dominant portrayals of lesbian intimacy that oscillate between erasure and spectacle, offering instead a depiction grounded in emotional realism and ethical complexity. The restrained tone insists that women's connections deserve seriousness, not because they are dramatic or forbidden, but because they are deeply human, consequential. By situating potential attraction within everyday professional interaction, the film underscores how queer desire often arises not in grand romantic gestures but in moments of shared responsibility, disappointment, and mutual recognition. Julia's role as a supervisor and mentor aligns with real-life dynamics within queer communities, where age, experience, and institutional power can complicate attraction and necessitate careful boundary setting to ensure safety and respect. The scene does not resolve these tensions, but holds them in suspension, reflecting the ongoing negotiation many queer women undertake to honor their feelings without compromising ethical integrity or personal security. This refusal to provide easy answers contributes to the film's broader cultural significance, positioning it as a text that values process over resolution and introspection over spectacle. For LGBTQ+ viewers seeking recognition, the scene offers a mirror to the quiet resilience required to navigate desire within systems that were not designed to accommodate it. It acknowledges the reality that women's love for one another is often expressed through care, mentorship, and affirmation long before it can be articulated as romance, and that these forms of connection are no less valid or meaningful for their subtlety. Ultimately, Scene 2 functions as a meditation on how women learn, fail, care, and recognize one another within constrained environments, affirming that emotional truth often emerges not through dramatic confession, but through the steady, difficult work of accountability and compassion. By centering interior lives and ethical attention, the film contributes to a broader conversation about visibility and respect, insisting that women-centered relationships, including lesbian ones, deserve to be understood as sites of growth, tenderness, and serious emotional inquiry, in a world still uneasy with acknowledging the full depth of women's love for women.